Can Kenjaku manipulate heavenly restrictions? Let's talk about it. Quick heads up though, if you are an anime only, we're gonna have to dive into some deep manga stuff here, so you've been warned. Alright, first I gotta give a massive shout out to the insanely generous sponsored video tonight. Dip, thank you so much for the support, man. It means more than you know. And Dip wanted to know if Kenjaku can give people with a heavenly restriction cursed energy, aka a cursed technique, just like Higuruma and everyone else in the Culling games. So this is a fascinating question, and it actually drives straight through some of the most interesting mysteries in JJK right now. So strap in, y'all. We're about to go to a full-on yap session. But let's first kind of build a framework so everyone's operating from the same place, right? So this question, could Kenjaku give a heavenly restricted user a curse technique? Let's break that down a bit. Heavenly restriction in this case is going to refer to people like Toji and Maki that have zero cursed energy and therefore no curse technique. It's not going to refer to somebody like Mekamaru who has a completely different type of heavenly restriction and already has a curse technique, right? Cool. Now, for Kenjaku giving someone a curse technique, what does that mean? Well, we got to go back to the end of season 2, if you're an anime only that's still watching this, or the Culling games for my manga readers out there. Kenjaku used Mahito's idol transfiguration to give people curse techniques, but we need to break that down a bit because specifically we're told that there's two groups of people that affected. One group is incarnated sorcerers that Kenjaku made deals with back in the past, right? We're not talking about them because they already had curse techniques. They are just incarnating in whoever, consumed them or whatever. So the other group is what we need to focus on. And we're told specifically that that group actually did have curse techniques, or rather they possessed like the correct physiology to have a curse technique, but they just didn't have the right anatomy or the right brain structure to be able to actually use it. So what Kenjaku did in that idol transfiguration was give them the correct body, let's just call it to be really simple, to be able to use their curse technique. So that's like what happened with Higuruma and everyone else that wasn't just an incarnated sorcerer. They suddenly had the ability to use the curse technique that they were technically born with. So could Kenjaku have given either one of them, if he was still around, a curse technique this same way with the idol transfiguration? And I don't think so. Not this way specifically, because again, all of the evidence we have with idol transfiguration giving people curse techniques like this, like Junpei, for example, they apparently already had the ability, like they already had that curse technique. They just didn't have the right brain to use it. Now, I don't really know how that makes sense or what that even means really, but it's what we're told. So in the case of Toji and Maki, they clearly don't have curse techniques at all. So it's not that they're just missing the correct brain to use it, because the whole point of their heavenly restriction is that they have zero cursed energy, right? So again, that specific way, I don't think you could give them a curse technique. However, I do think it's possible to have a heavenly restriction and kind of overcome whatever that was. So maybe there's another way that they could have curse techniques, and we've got a couple of examples to kind of back this up. First up, let's talk about Mekamaru. And I know we were just saying that the Mahito idol transfiguration thing wouldn't work on Toji and Maki, but it did work here, and it's because it's different circumstances, right? Mekamaru's heavenly restriction was he's got the supreme range on his curse techniques and also a lot of cursed energy, right? But in return for that, he has this frail, weak body. So Mahito is able to change Mekamaru's body to be normal, right? And then he obviously didn't last very long afterwards for us to know for sure that he still had the benefits of his heavenly restriction, but it seemed as if he did have the benefits still. I feel like if he wouldn't have had them, there would have been a more explicit note of that via dialogue, via the narrator, anything, right? That would have told us that like he now has his normal body, but there's boosts of cursed energy and stuff are gone. The range of the curse technique is gone. So I think he still had the benefits of his heavenly restriction, but, there is room to push back on that. But we're going to assume he did for the purposes of this. So therefore, it is possible to have a heavenly restriction and then kind of overcome it, yet keep the benefits. I know there might be some pushback on the Mekamaru evidence due to the assumptions I'm making, but that's fine, because we don't even need that, but I did want to bring it up. So what more relates to our case here is this question from the JJK Fanbook, where Gege was asked, did Kenjaku ever consider taking over Gojo or Toji? And Gege says, Gojo is impossible to take over. To put it simply, you can't kill him. Toji, however, would not be impossible to take over, but there's a risk of Toji's heavenly restriction and Kenjaku's own curse technique clashing when he takes over the body and causing some kind of malfunction. So taking over either of those two doesn't make much sense. So let's break this down a bit. So the most interesting part of that answer is Gege doesn't say that Kenjaku wouldn't be able to take over Toji because his brain wouldn't mesh with a heavenly restricted body, meaning like he couldn't use his curse techniques anymore or the heavenly restricted body would lose its benefits or anything, right? Which would have made sense to say if that was the reason that Kenjaku didn't do it. But no, the reason given was instead he didn't know how they would clash, meaning just like Toji was able to take over the grandson in the seance technique, his body is powerful and inflicts its will on its user, right? So Kenjaku was worried that that might happen to him if he put his brain in this body. So I think that it would work. Like if Kenjaku could guarantee that his brain would win that battle between brain and body, then I think he would have all of his curse techniques and have the insane heavenly restricted body. So the entire crux of this conversation has been leading to this point here. Could Kenjaku manipulate a heavenly restriction and bend it to his whims, whatever those may be? I think yes. It's just he couldn't have done it with the idol transfiguration for the reasons we just talked about. But the man's been experimenting for 1,000 years, and a lot of that has revolved around births. First with Noritoshi Kamo and the Cursed Womb Death paintings, and then with Kaori for freaking Itadori, right? So it really seems like Yuji might have a heavenly restriction. Now, it's probably not the exact same one that Toji and Maki have, but his insane physical stats definitely paint him in a heavenly restricted light, if you will. Again, I don't think it's fair to say that he's on the level of Toji or a fully realized Maki, but he seems close. I mean, at the very least, right? And so the closest line we have to draw for why he could be like that is heavenly restriction. That's like the best example in the manga that we have. So is he? Not necessarily, but given all the experimentation that's going on here, the fact that he was created to house Sukuna, the fact that he might have been created from one of Sukuna's fingers, I feel like it falls perfectly in line to think that amongst 1,000 years of experimentation here, Kenjaku would have messed with heavenly restriction. So perhaps taking a little bit from everything he learned, maybe Yuji has some sort of heavenly restriction. I'm yapping hard right now, and I really don't want to lose the plot, so let's kind of bring it all together and wrap it back around. Yes, I think Kenjaku could manipulate a heavenly restriction. I think a lot of his research over the past 1,000 years was potentially directly dealing with such a thing, and the results could be our main character right here. At the end of the day, this is just one facet of this conversation trying to explain what the hell is going on with Yuji. You know, is he related to Sukuna? Is he the twin brother? There's a million, right? So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts and ideas in the comments around all of this, and I do want to give one more shout out to Dip for the insanely generous sponsor today. Thank you, man.